Hey everybody, this is PD from the Spinner Rack, and today I'm doing the movie review on G20. This has Viola Davis. Anthony Anderson is also in this. There's a lot of people you know in this film. It's almost like Viola Davis versus Homelander, right? Basically, we have a female president. Her name is President Danielle Sutton. She's a war hero. She has a picture on, I believe it's Time magazine, which propelled her into the presidency. Now this is actually, I would say, one of those smart dramas or smart action films that have this political sort of thing, and then it leads you to the rest of the story, right? So basically, at G20 in Africa, they have this summit. I guess that's which is going on possibly now or just went on a little while ago. And they said that she can fight all this other stuff. So you know that she can do the big die-hard type action type stuff. And when they get to, we meet her husband, her family, her security detail, who becomes a big part of the story, and we also have her daughter, her son. Son doesn't really amount to much in the story, but the daughter does. The daughter just got in trouble for doing something connecting to, like, doing something, sneaking out, partying, kind of I guess it's the Bush twins or the Bush daughter or the Obama's daughter out partying when they shouldn't have, and she gets in trouble, and she's got issue with the mother and all that stuff. And it's always tough having kids in these stories because they kind of don't write them as having to be respectful of the parents. So that's the only thing I say there's a flaw of this story. But at the same time, she goes to the summit. We see the security detail. We see Homelander in there. Homelander, Homelander's in this thing, the actor who plays Homelander, when you see him, you know it's gonna be he's gonna put somebody into some trouble. Since Banshee, he's been killing it, and he kills it on the boys, and he's having fun on this. He doesn't have as much fun as the boys or Banshee, but he's a fave, right? So to get there, obviously the security detail is not what they want. They have a whole army out there. They take out the whole army, and they have all the political leaders stuck in this hotel, right? They have these political leaders in this hotel, and the president is one door away from escaping and going into her die-hard thing. So her security detail gets her to go and takes one of her doubters, one of the British prime minister, who's like, your whole story is crap. And that's where we get the smart, intelligent type of story out of it, is that, anything can push you towards the presidency in America. But if you can get something publicly, this is what happens to Viola's character. And as she got propelled into stardom, we get to see bits. It's sort of the dynamic that you got from Die Hard. The only thing of it is that, John McClane's weakness was his marriage. In this one, the family's pretty tight. It's just the daughter and son start to see the mother in a different light. Now, we start to see her skills, but then when they try to escape, they have other leaders with them. And they also, that's why I say it's smart, because it kind of utilizes all the people involved. So they have like a Asian, I guess I was just going to say prime minister. She is able to help out, go down the dumbwaiter so they can escape and help with the plan. They have another leader, I forget where she's from, but she has some insecurities while she's wearing boots. But she finds her inner hero in this story. And the British Prime Minister, who's the guy who's there for the doubt in the story, he kind of comes around. So they kind of mix it up. They have a good cast of characters, good enough characters so you could actually lose or worry about them being killed. So at the same time, when Viola is running away, her husband and her kids are all separated. So she has to worry about their family. And while she's trying to take more action, her security detail he is just not having it. He's like, all right, you can't. I'm here for this. So he's there to help out. So at the same time, the kids are being obviously they're trying to catch the kids that kill their security detail, and when they're just about to capture the kids, Anthony Anderson is able to save them, right? So then he saves them, but at the same time as they're trying to get a message out, because the daughter is a computer doing all this computer stuff, that leads them right back into the fire with Homelander. And of course, as these go along, they also have these the Homelander has all this stuff to actually keep the military from coming back again, since he already killed, all the security that was there, all the army. Next thing you know, he's like, he's got missiles to take out anyone that comes anywhere close. So that's what they have all these elements they have to put together to stop it. Now, I'm going to pull back and say, I pointed out how, it's not exactly the first Die Hard. It's not as extreme as Live Free or Die Hard, which is one of my favorites. I like the first four of Die Hards, but I like the more ridiculous Die Hards than the more down to earth. So 2 to 4, like Die Hard 1 is a perfect movie, like literally tight as a drum. 2 to 4 is a little, fantastic. The third one is down to earth and goes fantastic. It also almost has a 9/11 type of plot in there. And Live Free and Die Hard is just something you have to see. So this movie, as I said, is I've been saying it's smart because it has elements where she defers to the security detail. And of course, it leads to a point where she gets to do a bunch of action later, right? But it's her security detail is the first line of defense, and she is the second. And they set that up where she tries to take action because she's been trained and doing all this stuff, and he's like, no. And he keeps finding a way to get back, and then it turns at the point where she has to do her thing, of course, to build up things. So that's where I said they don't immediately go to her turning it into John McClane immediately, or Commando, that sort of stuff. But since this is a Viola Davis production, at the same time, you're not supposed to do any of that. You're supposed to take the movie and say, this is my movie. I do what the hell I want. I get to kick everybody's butt no matter what. So the other thing is that, there's something in Hollywood. I guess they have these properties that are already ready to go, right? And we look at it and we complain about diversity and all this other nonsense that people complain about that are non-issues. The factor is that Viola might have a movie planned about, the inner city. She could have something about a spelling bee. She can have a story about, gardening. It could be anything. She could have her own exploration underwater, which has no action, right? She has the money, she has the name, she has the accolades. The hard part is Hollywood is not letting you do whatever movie you want to do, right? So if you look at the movie she did, Widows, which is a British version, a U.S. one that I think was kind of a U.S. Lifetime movie, and then we have her version of Widows, which was an intelligent version, well done version of an existing property with the guy from, I think, the director of 12 Years a Slave. So the idea is that there are these properties that are sitting around in Hollywood that have money in them that you can get done and make. And they will, if you have put your own money into it, you can take them and make them into better projects. So you can take them and say, I want to change this, that, and the other. And we look at it and say, oh, okay, we can't say much about it because there's a switch in actors, this and the other, because Hollywood is not writing plot lines and movies for Viola Davis. They're just not happening. They're not writing movies for Julia Roberts. They're not writing movies for, who else? Whoopi Goldberg. They're not writing movies, well, they're writing movies for Eddie Murphy, but at the same time, as Eddie Murphy even said, he has to generate his own movies. right? We see him do stuff like, obviously, this original like Shrek or what's the name, but the movies we know him for are movies that most of the time, outside of, I guess, Boomerang, if someone has a plot, this is not a plot, this is a comic book, right? Or a book about comic books. So say this is a script, right? Here's your script. I have Beverly Hills Cop, which is written for a white guy, Stallone. So we have this plot, got money behind it. And he says, Stallone's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do Cobra. Cobra's like going to be my, it's going to be my, what's it, Dirty Harry. This Beverly Hills Cop thing is a Detroit guy going to LA and all this other nonsense. No, I'm not doing that. I'm doing Cobra. And Cobra's on cable a whole plenty a lot, right? I don't know if that's the right phrasing to use, but so then they're like, hey, we got this. Hey, Eddie Murphy's hot. Why, do you want to do this movie? He's like, well, can I change? Yeah, this isn't written for me. Can I put my own thing to some of the dialogue here? Do you want to change the plot? No. All right, I think we can get some humor in this. You know, you think so? Yeah. So let's go there. So then you have Whoopi Goldberg, who's like her stand-up or her Broadway or one-woman show was the hottest thing ever. And then before she got picked for anything, she got picked for The Color Purple. And that's, I don't know if we could consider that her vehicle, but, you know, and Oprah was kind of the one who got pushed to the talk show, and she blew up and went out to the stratosphere. But then they're like, what are we going to do with Whoopi Goldberg? He's like, hey, Whoopi, got this plot, his script here, Jumpin' Jack Flash. It's a guy, but if you read it, it's a computer tech. We could change all of this. I don't know if it was actually a guy. I don't have proof of that. But the idea is that Hollywood has a bunch of these scripts, right? Bunch of things that have money to them, right? And you have these talents that can sell your movie. And this is the same for Leonardo DiCaprio somehow being like everybody. He can be, you know, Howard Hughes. He could be, you know, what's it, CIA guy. He can be all these historical figures. He want to be John Wilkes Booth. You want to be all these guys, and people don't say anything because they're all white guys, and they're like, it's like, yes, he could be those guys. Chadwick Boseman can play every, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. He can play every black person out there. And then we have these plots, right? We have these scripts that are sitting out there that are just waiting to get made, or waiting to be rewritten and be a little better than what they are. So all these complaints, when you have a established talent like Viola Davis that came up in the ranks, you know, was a big character on the Law and Order series, and probably a bunch of those Law and Order series. Got a major part in it in the plot where she was a bad cop, and then we started seeing her and everything, and then she became a starring, you know. She, you know, went from being a little more rough around the edges to glamour up to going back and forth, playing around with it, being all malleable, right? So if you're going in and saying, oh my God, they're doing it again, what do you think when you go back in the days and you're like, what is this story with Bob Hope and Lucille Ball when they're well past their prime doing movies? The talents, the name, the movies, whatever you can attach someone to something, they're gonna do it. So the fact that she takes these things and makes them better, it's not like she took Soul Plane and then we rewritten it to make it better or try to figure out any way that it can make it better. But this is what you have to do. You have to go through the doors that are open, right? So, but people turn around and the knee-jerk reactions like, oh my God, female president. I just watched a thing where they had a gay president. So it's like, it doesn't matter. So whatever they want to do, they're gonna do. So I know I went on a long rant, but at the same time, you could try your hand at doing an art film, or you can take these properties that are sitting around that have money behind it that just need a star or need a rewrite. Because at the same time, they already know that the rewrites are going to happen. So you can, and Hollywood is a mind, once they figured out that writers spitball and they brainstorm and change everything, they're like, why can't it be a woman? Why can't it be a black guy? Why can't it be an East Indian guy? Why can't this location be somewhere in the beach? I think the big picture kind of showed it to the best way you could show that. So this kind of thing of waking up and saying, I got a problem with DEI. When? What's the name? The hard part is, if you think about, they have to find the person. And when they find the person for the part that they have, then at the same time, either they can, I think Guy Tori was talking about working on the animal and saying that he asked them, hey, do I have to follow this? And he was like, no, you don't have to do any of that stuff. And it's like, you know what, for safety, you can do the lines on paper, but when we get to the end, you can do whatever you want. Like, you could do your version of it. He's like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll give you what's in the script, and then I'll do it my way. He's like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Like, but in truth, you don't even have to do that. So they're on set with Rob Schneider, and they do a take. They do it how it is, and then he does a take where he does it on, and the whole place falls out. And then they said, Rob Schneider says, don't do that. They don't really want you to change things. When they already told him they were okay with him changing stuff. And then he would throw a line in here or there, and he found out Rob Schneider did not want to play at all. Wanted him to stay straight. So basically torching his character, right? So that's if you're going in and you're like, you watch How to Get Away with Murder, Widows, or just anything with Viola. I think Fences. I think I got a good realm of solid stuff that Viola has done. Just come in and you can have fun with this one. That's it. Spinner Rack is out.